At first sight, Eva can freak us out. She touches some very sensitive psychology. The robotics world is trying to avoid just what the science fiction world embraces, the terrifying area between human and not quite human.
The more human-like you make a robot, the more familiar it is to people, the more do they accept this robot. Until a certain point where the robot very much looks like a human being or behaves like a human being, but is still clearly recognizable of not being human. It evokes in people a feeling of disgust.
Voila!
If you are still not convinced, Mrs. Belmont, the eyes are removable. Let me show you.
No, I don't want to see that.
Robots can trigger an instinctive aversion, as science fiction knows all too well.
That time you tripped a robot, what made you do that?
I don't like them.
How can science stop this repulsion turning to hatred?
Put your arms around his shoulders.
Don't touch me, you filthy robot!
Welcome to the robot house.
A quiet suburb near St Albans. This man is a guinea pig in an experiment designed to stop robot hatred before it starts, a robot charm school.
We are thinking about to teach robot manners, to give them a set of social rules that can be adapted and changed over time, but rules that will make these robots more socially acceptable from the perspective of humans. In the Robot House, we investigate how our human-sized robots approach people. So do people, for example, prefer if a robot approaches from the front?
Here is your coffee, master.
Thank you.
And what we found, for example, is that the initial hypothesis that people would prefer a robot to approach from the front, which from a robotics point of view makes sense in terms of visibility, is actually not what people like. The majority of our subjects were quite uncomfortable if the robot chose a direct approach, in particular when they were sitting.
To be accepted, humanoid robots will have to overcome decades of science fiction prejudice and millions of years of psychology. So some scientists say if robots are going to be man's best friend, then why not make them look like man's best friend?
What's this? What's this? Jabul, Jabul. This is the real thing. This is an IBO, which means artificially intelligent robot. Look, he loves his ball. These sold out over the internet in just 20 minutes, and only 10 made it to this country, including this one, though. He's getting really excited about his ball.
A person who might be living alone in the house, and this person might actually prefer a robot that it can also play with.
And in our isolated internet age, companion robots might just fill a new niche as agony androids.
People aren't quite ready for or to admit that, well, actually, I'd like a robot to sort of fill in some of the gaps in my life, to be a friend that I can completely trust, who will listen to me without criticizing, without judging, who will always be there.
You need a dog sitter when you go on holiday, I heard.
Yes, I do, yeah, because I don't want to switch him off, because then, you know, he won't learn anything more. So my parents have volunteered to dog sit.
I think there will be a market for robots as companions, but it will be kind of a... It'll be, I suppose, it's you know, we finally invented a new perversion.
I find him really, really cute, but he is a robot.
So here is the true robot nightmare. Nights spent terrified that a thunderstorm will short-circuit our closest friends. A lonely, artificial, virtual world with immaculate robot-mode lawns scuttling robot hoovers with us befriending silicon pets. A vision where robots have gone to the dogs, a sad fate for the machine men. How would those familiar silver machines of death, the Cybermen, fit into this world? As they hit their mid-30s, the Cybermen seem to fall into a midlife crisis. What had they really done with their lives? Every planetary invasion had come to nothing. they were reduced to bit parts on TV shows, trying to rediscover their lost youth, hanging around with dodgy types, driving fast cars.
First up in the Civic Type R is the Cyberman. Slight problem with his helmet, but apart from that, he's on for a good lap. But oh no! What's this?
But now, with their 40th birthday approaching, like many middle-aged men, the Cybermen want to look in the mirror with pride. They've had a makeover. A new look. Less steel thug, more style warrior.
Oh wow, so this is now super-powered, ramped up. It's part Cyberman, part Transformer. It looks like it could suddenly turn into a racing car or a lorry or something. That makes it just that little bit scary. It's got that sort of skeletal-looking head now, which it didn't have before, and it looks a bit more nutty. Still the slightly looks like spray-painted kitchen gloves hands, unfortunately, but you can't have everything. And the boots look a little bit, Slade, Noddy Holder era. But I still think that looks pretty scary. The Cybermen before, I thought the thing about them was, all my descriptions of them, that, they were relentless, they were unstoppable, there were lots of them, but they didn't particularly look like they could outmuscle you. They weren't strong. So what they've added here now is they look a bit more like they could just whack you.
Cybermen.
I'm hoping that from the standards we've seen from the new Doctor Who so far, they're going to do something that's fun and creative, and hopefully, again, will scare those other generations, and more pants for more small children will be lost.
Throughout robot history, we've been promised in fact and fiction that artificial beings could save us time and labour. But the rebirth of the Cybermen and the return of Andromeda prove that machine men are at their most useful when they function as vehicles for our fantasies and our fears.
I think the idea of a robot is a very powerful archetype in drama. It represents pure science, pure logic, pure kind of technology. What happens if we allow technology free rein? I.e. give ourselves up to the robots. So it becomes a kind of archetype of a fear or paranoia about where we might be going, and a kind of heartlessness about humanity.
I can see the difference between our intelligence and yours. I can see that ours is going to take over and yours is going to die.